Welcome back on the AM show, and I'm beaming with smiles because this is a project that we've had in the making, and finally we're about to get the thrust of who is going to get what. We're celebrating those impact makers. Yes, the Joy Impact Makers Awards. Joining me in the studio to tell us a bit more about this project, how far we've come, and what we're going to do next, Emefa Atiamwa Eli is in the studio. She's an editor here with us at JoyNews. Hello.
Hello, Ben.
It gives me goosebumps sometimes when we have to discuss some of these matters. The whole idea of coming up with impact makers and how far we have come. But just walk us through the process. How far has it been? We started this
somewhere in April,
right,
trying to get entries from the public. That is to say, tell us, who do you think in your community is making an impact?
And they poured in.
And so many of them. Close to 500 entries. That was quite a lot, but then, we set ourselves out to be able to do that, and so we had no excuse. So we quickly had to go through what we received and then make them available to the judges, who in turn finally give us 10 out of the over almost 500 entries so that we can recognize them.
That must mean these 10, Father Winonja and all the others in there, really underwent some sort of scrutiny. 10 out of 500.
It's been a very rigorous process, and the judges took close to over a month to be able to give us the finalists. That tells you, the amount of work which has gone into so that we can get the best. And we would wish to have acknowledged more people, because yes, we are talking about 16 regions of Ghana, and we are asking everyone, everywhere to put in entries. So we got entries from almost every region. And some of the people, you're asking yourself, the projects they engage in, one key thing we are looking at is the sustainability. Yes, you might be making impact, but how sustainable is the project? How replicable is it? And then we're also looking at the number of people, the number of people that have been impacted as a result of the project you're engaged in. So these are some of the criteria that we are looking at to be able to, and that can be very involved, because if you're asking about the sustainability, how long has this person been doing this?
Yeah.
What is the current status of the project? Looking into the future, how long will the person be able to sustain this project? How many people are you looking towards to impact? So this is what went into the selection.
And that is quite a tall order, because it's kind of like venture capitalists trying to find businesses in the hope that they will last, they will stand the test of time. It's always risky, but in this instance, we had to do a very diligent job just to whittle it down to these 10. But what makes these 10 people so special? Apart from what you've told us, I'm sure those watching us will be asking, so what did it take for these 10 people to be selected?
Okay, so I started by giving you some of the criteria.
You have mentioned some of them.
Exactly. So it's about the impact. It's not just you doing something. I told you about the sustainability of the project. If you are engaged in something which is affecting lives, so you do not want the project to end after this recognition. We are also looking towards an opportunity where the project can be replicated in other areas of the country. Do you have any dreams like that? Are you looking to doing something like that? And then another thing is your source of funding. You hear stories, the finalists that we have, you'll be amazed. Some of them are having to do what they're doing from their own pockets. You understand?
Wow.
But then the interesting thing about it is that, okay, so it is from my own pockets, but at the end of the day, whatever they are doing is able to enable them rake in more capital so they'll be able to continue doing it. Do you understand? We have a finalist who is into agriculture, more or less farming, and he engages persons with disability or persons who are physically challenged. He's engaging them in his farms. Whatever they produce, they send it out there to the market for sale. Whatever they raise from the sale of these produce, they reinvest into what
the
they
farm.
and so then the farm keeps expanding. You are getting more hands, and Ghana, we have a lot of challenge with people, persons with disability who say they do not have any form of livelihood, something sustainable, something that can keep them. And so by doing this, you are not just taking them out of the streets, which is often where we find them, but then they are in a gainful venture. They are able to feed their families, and so they can also live some kind of dignified life. You get it? There is another person who is also engaging the youth in ICT. So if you're able to, after a year, they have 3-year program, so they will train you. When you acquire the training, they recruit you to work in the facility. Whilst they recruit you, you are being paid. And then in the same vein, you are also encouraging other youth to come into the institution to also learn. I hope you can imagine the impact. Yeah. And so it's not just a one-off activity, but then you are able to replicate the impact over and over and over. And that it's all about development. So it's not just one person whose life is being changed. It's a whole community. And then it extends to, you can imagine, the whole country.
And it makes a lot of sense. These are impact makers. They are impacting their communities and beyond. But with all the processes that we have gone through since April, now we've whittled the number down to these 10 fortunate ones. Well, maybe not so fortunate because they put in the work. What is going to be happening this week? Come the end of the week on Friday, is going to be D-Day.
Exactly. At the Labadi Beach Hotel, we'll be hosting these 10 finalists and their family members to a dinner sort of. And then we tell the whole Ghana and even the world at large about what they have been doing. You get to know what they do more. And then we'll also appreciate them. We showcase them to corporate Ghana. We showcase them to the whole world and say that this is what you're doing. And in case you are doing something which is closely related to what you're doing and you are in that space of being able to help them, you shouldn't hesitate in engaging them in whatever way. There's this woman who is into manufacturing a kind of machine which helps women in Upper East region to be able to harvest their produce. Ordinarily, they would have gone manual. And how much can you do if you have large acres of land and you have produce on such land you are supposed to cultivate? It's quite a lot of work. But then with the help of this machine, they are able to do more within very little time. You get me? So such people, you can imagine the amount of impact they'll be able to make if you give them the platform, if you give them the necessary
If they had
support.
more, how much more they could bring.
Exactly. And we know there are a lot of organizations which are into these kind of agro input manufacturing machine, whatever. They'll be able to support them. So this is what we are looking out for. So on that day, Ghana will be able to see this woman and will be able to say, oh, if you're able to help her A, B, and C, she can be able to do this and that.
Apart from that, I'm sure there are people who will be watching and saying, but how can I participate? How can I support? What can I do? For such people, what would you say to them?
Okay, so like I said, we need support for these people. It's not just us showing them to the public and saying, this is what you do, what they do. We need to support them so that they can expand on what they're doing. Beyond that, we also need sponsorship for the program. I mean, you're a corporate or you're a commercial entity. What a platform you would want to be associated with, you're welcome. You can, between now and Friday, and whatever benefit you will get does not end after the program. I mean, awards 9th. We can extend it as long as you want. And this thing is going to be every year. This is the maiden edition.
I was just about to say that some people may even say, okay, we missed out on this bus, but pencil us down for next year, the next edition or something.
So just reach us at our front desk on our main line. We are open for any kind of support you might want to give us or association so that, who knows, this is the platform your business has always been looking for to be able to become big.
I'll tell you one thing, Emefa Atiamwa Eli is one of the impact makers in-house. So we celebrate her as well. Anyway, any final words?
Yeah, so Friday we are saying you should stay glued to your television sets. It's going to be live on air from 7 to 9 p.m. You would see the finalists, and then who knows, one of them might motivate you to encourage you to also, step out there and do something to help your community. For you think that whatever you are doing is not, it doesn't
no one is
really
recognizing.
Yeah,
Right.
but you may never know. These people were selected from their community by their own people. You understand? And so
I'm sure they were sitting somewhere. They didn't even
yes,
know
that
someone had.
And at this point, I know some people are still not sure. They are not too sure about what to expect. But I'm saying that stay glued to your television set, you watch, you see, and who knows, after getting your community informed, they might next time volunteer you or nominate you to go for the Impact Makers Award.
I think I foresee this year. You say we had about 500.
Yes.
Nominations, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be like next year, but I'm
Exactly.
sure
That is why we need this, because then it means that we have to make the awards
the numbers bigger as well,
so that we'll be able
probably
to
go
encourage,
beyond 10.
Exactly, we'll be able to encourage more people to impact lives in their communities.
MFR Atiamwa Ellie, she is the project lead for the JoyNews Impact Makers Awards, joining us in the studio for this conversation. Anyway, so stay with us. When we return, we'll be hosting authorities of the CK Tedham University of Technology and Applied Sciences. They'll be joining us in the studio as we have a conversation on that institution, what it's been doing so far, and what its projections are moving into the future. That conversation up next. Do stay. Thank you.